Hi everybody, welcome back to Bring Life Indoors. It's Moira here. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're doing well. Today we're doing a sit down. I haven't done one of these in a long time. I haven't done a sit down video where I just talk about plants. So yeah, and I miss this kind of videos. Must go back and start doing them again. Today I want to talk about growing plants indoors. You know, you might be out there and you haven't started, and it's a desire of yours, and you want to start collecting plants, but you don't quite know what goes into it, and you don't quite know. You wonder if it's something you'll be able to manage, if it's something you'll be able to even take care of a plant. Is it something you'll be able to take care of? Is it easy? Is it not easy? Is it demanding? Is it not? But you have the desire, but you've got questions. Or you might have started, you went right into it, you didn't think twice, you just dived right into it and started collecting plants, and now you've got quite a few or one or two, and you don't know what to do with them, you don't know how to take care of them, and but you love them, and they keep dying on you. Not that it's not normal, it's normal that plants, they do die, but uh, uh, um, you know, it's not normal that I buy it, and if they die because I don't know, I'm not looking well after it, and I don't quite understand how to look after it, that is something you can change and work on. And but if they die because they were only for a season, they live only for a certain time, you know you can only have it for a certain period of time, or you've had it for so long, and it's decided now it's time to say goodbye. There's nothing you can do about that. They do die, and some years we keep them for years and years. That's if you know what to do with them, and some you can only keep them for so long and they make their way out. And but if you are out there and you've recently been collecting plants, and somehow you can't keep a plant alive simply because you have no clue what you're doing with it, if you're doing right by it, if you even know what to do with it, and that's why they keep dying. There's something, you just know, I have no clue what I'm doing, and I'm losing plant after the other, and I keep on going back and buying another one, and I can't keep a plant alive, but I want to collect plants. Then you are watching the right video. Because today I want to talk about growing plants indoors, how to grow them indoors, how to keep them alive, how to enjoy them. And so let's talk about that. I made my notes, so if you see me looking down, is because I'll be referring to my notes and checking my notes out, that I don't miss out. I like making notes and writing down. Otherwise, I can sit here and talk, and when I'm done and I watch the video, I realize I didn't talk about this or that or the other, which was very important. So you actually, if you don't make notes, you end up not mentioning certain things which are very important to mention. So that's why I've made notes, and that's why you'll see me looking down sometimes, if not most of the time or the whole time. Okay, let's talk about plants, growing plants indoors. Now, I've got tons of plants. I'm well over 100, probably, if not well over 2, but I've got well over 200, but I've got a lot of plants indoors. I've got plenty of plants indoors, big and small. And I mean big and small, I mean, I can give you an example of this, and this is not even my smallest plant in the house, but I definitely from small to big, and here's another one, and this is not even my biggest plant in the house, but I've got all sizes. Really, I do have all sizes, big and small, from the tiniest to I wouldn't say the biggest, because there's biggest plants out there, but I do have big plants. So let's talk about growing. So I've learned a few things. I've been collecting plants for years. I've been looking after plants for years. I started outside before I collected indoors. I started outside and I moved in. I started collecting in, and I've been doing it for years indoors. I've been collecting plants for years and I'm still doing it. I love them. And the plants I have in my house, I would say about 90% of them, or about, yeah, 90% of them I've had for years, and about 10% of them you can say that the recent ones which I've recently bought, maybe a year or 6 months ago or a year ago. But most of them that are well over 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I've had them for years. So and they're doing well, they're growing, they're loving it, that they're enjoying my home, I'm enjoying them. But it's only because I learned. I didn't come out knowing what to do. When I started off, I didn't start off knowing exactly what to do. I had to learn from every plant I bought. I killed a few, and every time a plant died, I went back and traced my care routine with that plant and see what did I do wrong. So I'm telling you, I'm sitting here talking about something, my own experience. I'm telling you about my own experience, what I've learned from taking care of plants and growing plants indoors. I'm not giving you information I haven't tried and tested. I'm not telling you about something I'm not doing and I haven't done. It's something I'm doing, and daily I take care of these plants and I look after them, and I've come to know what they like and what they don't like. And what's beautiful is if you've owned a plant for a certain amount of years or months, or uh, you can really pat yourself on the shoulder, because it means you are learning, and it means you're doing something right. If you bring that plant home and it's still a pup and it survives a week, it's a new plant I've never cared for, and it survives a month, and it survives 6 months, and we get to a year, it means I'm doing something right. And yes, there's times I've brought a new plant home and I had no clue what I was doing with it, like string of turtles. I brought it home and I had no clue what I was doing with it. I did research. Even when I bought it, I asked and I tried to follow exactly what I was told to do with it, and it didn't make it. My heart was broken because it's a plant I've searched for and I could never find, and this one time I found it, but it didn't survive for a month with me. A month was long. I didn't keep it for a month. It died. It really died, and simply because I had no clue I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to care for it. And I'll try this, I'll change the environment, I'll change the places I'll put in, because I don't know, is it happy, is it not, So yes, there will be times when you're trying out a new plant. I've never owned a string of turtles, and if you have, I'd like to try it again. But please leave the comments down below and tell me, how do you do it? I've been successful with string of pearls. I've been successful with string of bananas. I'm still am with string of dolphins. Now, I thought it's the same. I've been successful with the string of hearts, and I thought string of turtles must be easy, just like them. I just have to follow what I've been doing with the rest of those strings. But somehow it didn't work. It just didn't work. And sometimes it's not that you're doing something wrong, it's just a change of environment. Unfortunately, that plant might not like it be moved from where it was happy and all and come into your home, and somehow it couldn't adjust to your home, it couldn't adjust to your environment, you couldn't give it the environment it needed, and then unfortunately it died. But it doesn't always mean you didn't know what you were doing. So yeah, I had to just put that out there. But now let's talk about growing plants indoors. Point number one I want us to look at is you need to know the plant. If you're gonna buy a plant, you need to know what kind of a plant is it, what are you bringing home, what does it require. Don't be shy to ask questions. And if I think that's what has saved me many times, because I don't just walk into the garden shop wherever I am, even if it's in a place I'm not familiar with. Any garden shop, if I love a plant and I'm not familiar with it, I'm not shy to ask, how do I care for this plant? Where should it be in my home? And all that. What kind of environment does it need? Because I want to know, can I give it that environment? That is my house conducive for it? Otherwise, I don't bring it home. I mean, why bring it home if I can't offer it the environment that it needs? So don't be shy. If you're gonna start collecting plants, don't be shy to ask questions. Ask these people at the garden shop, at the nursery shop. Trust me, they are taught. They go to, well, most garden shops I've been to, they've got information. They know the plants they are selling. They will give you the information you need. What kind of a plant is it? What environment it needs? How to care for it? They will tell you. They will help you. So don't just pick and go. Ask, and also tell them, I want to buy a plant and this is the area I want to buy it for. What plant do you think? Can you show me the plants that will work for that area? And from what they show you, then you can choose also, to say, okay, I'll go for this one. It helps. That's what I do, Sometimes, yes, I look at the plants and I fall in love with them and I just take it and I ask, because I want to know, do I have an environment for it at home? And there's times where I say, you know what, there's this area in my house, it receives so much sun, or it doesn't get sun at all, or it just gets low light or medium light. Show me the plants that can grow in that corner of my house. And trust me, they know, they will show you. They will show you. So don't be shy to walk into a plant shop and ask questions. Leave the plant shop with a plant in your hands, well informed about that plant. That's point number one. And then point number two, let's say you've bought the plant, there we go. I've gone into the shop and I bought the plant and I'm happy with it. This is a spider plant, by the way. It was a pup. It was one of the babies from my mother's spider plant. So look how big it is now. Soon I'll be getting babies from this. So let's say now I've got my plant, I've bought my plant, I'm happy with it, I love it. Now, what do you need to understand, or what do you need to learn about that plant, is to know, the first thing you want to know is the environment it needs. What are we saying about that? What does that mean? You want to know the lighting. What kind of lighting does this plant need? And you want to know, does it need bright light? Does it need medium light? Does it need low light? Or does it need sun even? Some plants in the house, they still need that sun, so you want to know all that. And there's certain plants which will flourish in any kind of environment. They will do well in any environment. You'll find plants where you are told, this one, it will be fine in low light, it will be fine in medium light, it will be fine in bright light. But you'll see, if you put it in bright light, it will grow faster and it will flourish even more. There will be a difference, but it doesn't mean it will die or struggle or suffer if you put it in low light or medium light. So, things like that. So it's important to understand what lighting does that plant need, So ask those questions. Don't be shy to ask those questions. Like where I'm sitting is our family corner, is our music room. You can almost call it my plant corner because it's full of plants, but it's our music room. And it's where we chill and relax and play our music. But then it's bright. I've got a window here and I've got another window here and I've got another window here. So it receives I get in morning sun in the morning, and from there I get bright light throughout the day. Now the plants that are in here are loving it. They're really loving it. So things like that. So I make sure that I put plants which will appreciate morning sun and bright light throughout the day, and they are flourishing, they are doing well, and things like that. So understand uh, what lighting uh, does your plant need. For other plants, like this one, it can handle sun, it can handle morning sun. But another plant, it might be too much for it. You want to move it away a bit from the window. But this one is sitting directly on the window. That's where it's sitting. I just brought it here next to me that you can see. It is a snake plant. It receives morning sun, and it loves it. It really loves it. You can, but again, same plant, snake plant, same plant. It can do well again in your medium light. It can do well in your low light. It can do well, in your bright light without sun. It can, but you want to see it flourish. You want to see it grow faster. You want to see, keep its vibrant colors and all that. Give it a bit of sun. You'll be surprised. So it gets morning sun, but it can survive and do well in any lighting environment, this plant. So understanding that about your plants is very important, because you'll bring it home and know exactly where to put it. But then how will you know if you don't ask? It's very important to ask when you're at the plant shop, what kind of lighting does this plant need? And then we look at the other point number 3 is water. Water. Now, it's very important to know when do your plants need to be watered. Sometimes a mistake new plant collectors do, like new beginners. If you're a beginner, you're starting to collect plants, the mistake we do when we're starting off and we're excited to collect plants is, that watering can, we just want to walk around with a watering can without really checking the soil, because we think, oh, maybe it might be dry, maybe not. No, it's important to check your soil. It's important to know your plants. Number 1, understand your plant. That's another thing to ask at the plant shop. Like this one, it doesn't like to be overwatered. It's got these wax leaves. It's like a succulent, so the leaves holds on to water. So trust me, you don't want to overwater this plant. If I overwater it, I'm gonna wake up the next day, not later. I'm gonna wake up and this would have fallen. Trust me, I've killed it. I've killed a few of these to know that. So I'm not saying it from seeing it somewhere. I've seen it in my own house. I've watered a few of these when I started collecting them, and I've killed a few of them with overwatering when I've watered them when they didn't need to be watered. Now, snake plants like these, I need to see if I've got another one here, but plants like these are one of those plants which you can get away with forgetting to water them. They do well with drought. They don't mind drying out completely. They don't mind being forgotten to be watered. So you'll do well forgetting to water it than overwatering it. So it's one of those plants, if you are not sure if it needs water, you are better off leaving it alone until you are sure. It will survive, it will do well. But if you give it more than what it needs, you water it today, and then before it's dry, you go ahead and water it again, it will die on you. So it's important to understand. So this one, it likes to be on the dry side of things. That's your snake plants. They like to be, it's like your succulents. Your succulents, they like to be on the dry side of things. Why? They've got thick leaves, they hold on to water. There are plants that grows on in the desert. So they like to be left alone. Trust me. And you can leave them alone until you see the leaves. Even this one, until I feel the leaves, like now, it's not ready to be watered. But I will know when it is, because the leaves get softer and flimsy. And, even with succulents, you will know they get a bit wrinkly and soft. Then you know it's time to water it. And surprisingly enough, even when you overwater this plant, it will give you the same vibes. It's just very confusing, because it will get a little bit soft and whatever, but it doesn't mean, and you stick your hand, you realize, but the soil is wet. Why are the leaves behaving like the plant is dry? It's because you've overwatered it. It's complaining. So so it's very important to know when to water your plants. Like this one is a philodendron hope. I let my philodendron dry. I let them dry before I give them water. and then I water them thoroughly. You know, if it's a small pot, I stick my finger in all the way in. I mean, we're talking small pots. If it's a small pot, I stick my finger in. If the soil is still moist, I leave it. If the soil is dry, I give it water. But this one, I let it dry completely, all the way down, because this one prefers to be on the dry side of things. You know, but I've seen even with my philodendrons, if I forget to water them and they go completely dry on me, they actually don't complain, you know. So I use, for bigger pots like this, I use a moisture meter and or what you call it, a wooden stick. I stick it in there to see if it needs water. If that stick comes out and it's clean, I need to water it. I know it's dry, but I know my pots already. I know my plants already. All I have to do is to pick it up, and I know how it feels when it needs to be watered. It's important to know your plants. Learn your plants, and don't be hard on yourself. Take time. So before you water it, it's important to pick it up and feel. This is how it feels when it's dry. Then you water it and you pick it up again and say, okay, this is how it feels when it's watered. So you do a mental note in your mind to know this plant, when it's dry, it feels like this when I pick it up. When it's not dry, it feels like this when I pick it up. Then you will know when it's time to water your plants. But these will never lie to you. To be very honest, your fingers will never lie to you. Don't be scared and to get down and dirty. Stick your fingers in there and check the soil if your plants needs to be watered. And for big pots, use a wooden stick or invest in a moisture meter, but check your plants. But one thing I want to put out there, I don't know if I have a plant that really is at the place where it needs to be watered. This one is on its way there. Some of them not yet, but plants do talk. They do send out a message. The leaves will become flimsy, they will become floppy. If it's a peace lily, it will just fall if you left it for too long. But they do talk. They become soft. They do. When it's time, if you wait a little bit longer and watch them to learn them, you will know, okay, this needs to be watered, because the leaves become softer and easily bendable, you know. Then you know, okay, this plant needs to be watered. But use your fingers, use your wooden stick, use your moisture meter, but these will never lie to you. Believe me, there's times a moisture meter doesn't read well. It's got its times, it's got its days where it doesn't read well. So it's important to know when to water your plants. Again, it's an information. Knowing whether the plant likes to be on the moist side of things or it likes to be on the dry side of things, again, is an information you can also get from the plant shop. When you're buying that plant, they will tell you to say this plant likes to be on the moist side of things, meaning it doesn't want to dry out to the bone. It doesn't want to dry out completely. It wants to be on the moist side of things. So you must catch it before it dries to the bone. To give it water, while the other ones, you can let them dry to the bone and, you know, they'll be fine. They'll be happy actually to be left alone. And when they're now completely dry, you give them water. So understand your plants and don't be shy to ask those questions. I'm trying to see if but I did show you a plant that loves to dry to the bone. Most of my plants, which I know don't like to dry to the bone, they're in my bathroom. That's my fence. I keep them in my bathroom because it's humid in there. We shower and bath there. They love the environment. And I love the fact that I'm always there, so I can catch them before they dry out and give them water, because they love to be on the moist side of things. So all of my fence, they are in my bathroom, because they love a humid environment and they don't like to dry out. And so you want to keep your eye on them before you catch them before they dry out, you know, completely. So yeah. And the other thing is humidity levels. It's exactly what I was talking about. Some plants don't mind. Some plants can be in any environment, anytime, any part of the room, anytime. Windows open, windows closed, they'll be fine. But you get other plants which want a bit of a higher humidity, like your fence and you know, and this and that. But I must say, in my house, well, maybe because of the area I'm from, well, I'm from South Africa. I live in Johannesburg, so here we don't have those issues. I don't own a humidifier. I don't use humidifier for my plants. You know, the ones that I feel need a bit of humidity is those fans which I keep in my bathroom. And other than that, then the calatheas that in my bathroom, and that's about it. You know, the rest of my plants are fairly happy in my house. Actually, they're very happy in my house, you know, and I thank God for this. So it's all about the environment. So it's important for you to understand your environment, to understand the area you're in. Some places get colder than other places, and some places are warmer than others. We don't all have the same environment. So understand your environment and know what works for your plant, what will work in your environment, and collect plants that will work for your environment. Unless if you can create some form of you can try and mimic what works for them out there in your home, then go for it. But if you are not able to mimic it, you know, like with humidifiers and greenhouses and all those things, get plants that works for your environment. Don't stress yourself out, you know. Yeah, so that's that. And then the light, you know, the light, not the light, what am I saying? Point number 5, use the right potting soil. It's very important to use the right potting soil for your plants. I mean, there's certain plants that likes to be on the moist side of things. I mean, with that, you know, you'll want to have things like cocoa peat in there, or something that, you know, that this, you don't want the soil to dry out too quickly, you know. Or you know, yeah, you want something that holds on to moisture for a little bit of for a long period of time, in a way. The soil to be a little bit, you know, still airy and all that, but yeah. But for plants, though, with me, I must be very honest, I really need to be very honest, I used to do that. I used to, when I plant my ferns, I will, with the potting soil I have, I will add a little bit of a what do you call it, either cocoa peat, you know, or and so, something to hold on to. But I stopped doing that because the soil I use, it's fine, it works for all my plants, whether it's a fern or it's a plant that wants to be more on the moist side of things, or it's a plant that wants to be on the dry side of things. It works for both of my plants, for all my plants. Yes, all it means is, for those plants that like to be on the moist side of things, I need to keep an eye on them, you know, at the end of the day, that they don't dry out completely without me noticing, and you know, and all that. But you can play around with your soil to really to suit the plant you have, like whether it's your ferns or, you know, the only difference I have with me and soil is that I've got one soil for all my house plants, and I use, but for my succulents, I use a succulent soil. You know, those are the only two soils I buy. Just one potting soil, and I use what do you call it, perlite, to create, you know, I mix it into the soil. Those little white things we see in the soil. I'm gonna pick up this one, hopefully I don't mess, you know. Yeah, these little white things we see in the soil, yeah, I use perlite. It's called perlite. I use it in my soil. I mix it even in my succulent. I mix it in there. I mix it in my soil, because then it creates it encourages what do you call it, drainage, a good drainage in your soil, you know. I love it for that. Then it helps the soil to drain well, you know, when you water, because you don't want it to be too soggy and stay with water for too long, because it's also not good for your plants. So yeah, with me, I used to, it's a lot of work, and I realized I don't need to do that. As long as the soil I'm buying, it really answers everything for all my plants. It does. Whether they love to be on the moist side of things or they love to be on the dry side of things, it just means I need to watch my watering routine. I can't keep the same routine with all my plants. My ferns are different. I water them differently to how I do, my entire house plants. With my ferns, I many times see that I need to water them more often than I need to water the rest of my whole house, because then they like to be on the dry side of things. So yeah, I hope you understand that. It sounded a little bit all over the place. But then the other point number 6, select a right pot for your plants. It's very important to select the right pot for your plants. Now with me, I've got variety. I love terracotta pots. Why do I love terracotta pots? I love them because they are porous. They release moisture. Like this one is almost dry. I probably need to water these tomorrow. They release moisture, so they don't stay wet for too long. So I like them for plants which I know likes to be on the dry side of things. They don't like to be wet for too long. They don't like wet feet, wet roots for too long. So yeah, I love it. I love terracotta pots. So I put with them, I use them for my succulents. I use them for plants which I know wants to dry out, like this one, Chinese evergreens. I keep them on the dry side of things. I let them dry before I give them water. I make sure that they dry. Like my Hoyas, I've got a Christmas cactus here. It's sitting in a terracotta pot. Yeah, that's what I love terracotta pots. Now, if you are a heavy waterer or someone who's got a heavy hand when it comes to watering, you might want to make terracotta pots your friend, because even if you overwater, it will dry out quicker because it releases moisture. It doesn't hold on to moisture, it releases it. Now, I still do like plastic pots, and I love it for my ferns and any other plants. I still use them. I'll plant like this one. I'll keep it like this one. I kept it in its nursery pot, as you can see, still in its nursery pot, and but I put it in a cover pot, and that's it. So know which plant works, which pots works for which plants. Though sometimes I don't feel it depends, yeah, it will help you. Terracotta pots are the best for me, for someone who is heavy-handed when it comes to watering. But at the same time, you don't want to plant a fern in a terracotta pot, because it's going to dry out so quickly, and it's going to make your life miserable, because then you're going to feel like, I always have to water this plant. Somehow it doesn't stay happy for too long. You know what I mean? So leave it in its nursery pot and give it a cover pot, or plant it in a ceramic pot, or things like that. So the other thing is, give it a right size. Sometimes we give a tiny little pot like this one, then you decide to give it a bigger pot. That's also bad and dangerous for your plants, because you might end up with root rot, because then the soil will stay wet for too long for such a tiny plant, and before you know it, it's rotten, and you don't understand why. It's because it's sitting in a way too bigger pot for it than what it should be sitting in, and the soil stays wet for too long. So don't upsize your pots unless you have to. Check the size of the roots, and don't go bigger than what you should. And if you do go bigger than what you should, watch your watering. Be careful with your watering, that you don't overwater that plant. And yeah, that's with pots. But I must be honest, for me, the advice I can give when it comes to pots is, check the size. When you're gonna transplant your pot, don't go too big. Try not to go too big. And I did that mistake in the beginning when I was collecting plants. I'll go too big, because I loved the pot and there was no other size, and I bought that big pot and I put this tiny little plant in this big pot, and it didn't last because then it died of root rot, because then that soil stayed wet for too long. Or I planted a fern or a plant that likes to be on the moist side of things in a terracotta pot, which didn't stay moist for too long, and then it died, things like that. So yeah, check those things. The last thing is fertilizer, feeding our plants. We need to feed our plants. The fact that I need to eat, my hair needs food, my skin needs to be nourished with oils and creams and all that, our plants is not any different. We need to feed our plants with fertilizer. Now there's many ways you can do it. You can go to the store and buy a fertilizer. You can even ask at the shop what is the best fertilizer to use indoors. I use a fish one and my family hates it because it stinks. So yeah, but it doesn't stay like that for long, just an hour or two and it disappears. So but nonetheless, it's good to feed your plants. The other thing I do with banana leaves, I take the banana leaves and I put it in water. I leave it overnight when I know I'm watering tomorrow, and I take that water and I water my plants with it. It's also fertilizer. So there's many things you can do. You can use the banana leaf, you can, so feed your plants. Now, how do we do that? I feed my plants in a growing season, as long as there's a new shoot coming. Now, here in South Africa, sometimes it feels like it's a growing season all year round. To be very honest with you, I'm not lying to you. That's how it feels. So trust me, as long as my plants are shooting new growth, I fertilize. I just do it every second week, or if I watered this week, if I fertilize this week, the next time I water, I don't fertilize, I skip. So, but as long as there's new growth shooting out, I fertilize. And out here, it feels like it's growing season all year round, to be very honest with you. And we're blessed with that. So yeah, but you might be in a different environment than I am in, and check your plants. If they're not shooting out, if it's winter, stay away from it. Don't fertilize. Let your plants rest. Don't fertilize. But if it's a growing season like your spring and summer, start fertilizing. Every second time you water, fertilize your plants. Give them food. And yeah, that's it. I don't know. I hope I covered everything. I hope I didn't leave anything out. But yeah, I hope this encourages someone out there who wants to start collecting plants, and gives you courage that it's actually not difficult. It's actually not hard. It's something doable. Just start small, and keep adding as you go. And I always say, if it looks daunting or it feels daunting, start with easy plants. We do have easy plants out there. Maybe that can be something I talk about next time. Easy plants to grow indoors. There is easy plants out there that are easy. Really, they are low maintenance. They are not divas that you look away, they're already flat, because they feel like you didn't look at me for 5 minutes, or you didn't touch me for 5 minutes. There are easy plants out there that are easy to care for. They are low maintenance. They don't want you to smother them and to be all over them. If anything, if you do that, they die. Like these ones, they're really carefree plants. They leave me alone plants. Come when I need you plants. So start with plants like that they will boost your confidence, and they will make you feel like you can do it, which you can, by the way. And then you can add as you go. And once you see you've got the hang of it, then you can start challenging yourself with other plants, which requires a little bit more attention and a little bit more maintenance, and a little bit more of this and that. And you will see that, wow, it's not as daunting as I thought. But anyway, it's been fun. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to your comments. Until next time, have yourself a fabulous day.